Welcome to the 90th Minute Whistle podcast presented by Live Sports. I'm your host, Mario. I'm here with my co-host, Lance.
Yeah, hello, Liverpool.
That's spelled Senegal. Yeah, it's
Either
spelled
way,
Senegal.
it was a win-win AFCON final.
Yeah,
Never,
the Chelsea fans could have said that he mainly carried you, but
Mendy, okay.
hey,
Yeah,
like you have to remember that Mane missed his penalty that could have ended the match before it went to penalties. No, he made up for it by scoring his penalty, but hey,
exactly. In typical Cristiano Ronaldo style from FA Cup midweek. Although they still end up losing. Yeah, yeah.
yes. So before I didn't want to get into that so early into the AFCON so early. I wanted to just do a roundup of the weekend first.
Yep, please.
Dortmund and Leverkusen played, and
Is it?
it was embarrassing this morning. It was very embarrassing this morning, and I don't know if they're going to fire Mark Rosa, the new coach, but Leverkusen absolutely walked all over them. So
Really?
yeah, walked all over them for the entire. So in the match, Leverkusen went up a goal with an own goal from Dortmund's defender Makanji, one of their centre
Mhm.
backs.
Yes.
And in all fairness, then an own goal was scored 5 minutes later by Leverkusen. So we thought, okay, it's going to be your typical Dortmund versus. It's going to be the typical Dortmund versus Leverkusen. High scoring, but you're expecting Dortmund to win because of the talent level.
Mm-hmm.
What ended up happening was that ever since that equalizing own goal that leveled out everything, like Leverkusen just went on a tear. 5 minutes after them score again, then 8 minutes after that them score again, and then they were already 3-1 up by the end of the first half, and Dortmund just didn't come out trying to fight back.
Wow.
And I think it seems to me like Dortmund are one of those teams who they're not in front of you, like they're not going to try and come back.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's down to leadership because they weren't like that on the club. They weren't like that on the Lucien Favre or even Thomas Tuchel or even Stega, Peter Stega. He took them over for like a year or so. But Mark Rosa is a young coach that comes from that tree of Jurgen Klopp and Thomas Tuchel in terms of playing style, in terms of philosophy. And I think he used to play on the Klopp or on the Tuchel. I can't remember. But he's from that line that comes from that Ragnick line, that Ralph Ragnick line of mentality of coaches. So a lot of people were expecting more from him very early, and I think that as a manager, he may have took his job too soon and at a bad time because the club is in transition, and the players like Marco Reus, Marco Reus is still playing at a high level, but the team around them isn't stepping up. And again, if they're not winning already, they're not going to fight, despite the talent that they have in the squad.
Right.
And last season, the problem with Dortmund, and I think they fired the manager Lucien Favre prematurely, is that their defense has not been improved. Their attack is not the problem. They need to rebuild their defense. They haven't rebuilt their defense since Klopp days. They've always plugged and played some players, which got them throughout a season. But if you're going to compete with Bayern, you need to have that defense ready. And today just showed me that that they're not going to try and compete for the title this year.
Okay.
That's what today really showed me. And Leverkusen is a team that they are not going to challenge for the title either, but they fight every day. So they'll take the chance to beat you 5-1. And it wasn't until the 89th minute where Dortmund scored their second goal. And that was basically just like a console. I don't think it's a consolation. Yes. Stefan Teagues, I think they brought on a very young guy. I don't know if this was his debut or not, but This is the first time I'm seeing him and he scored.
Mm-hmm.
But like I don't know what is going on with Dortmund. Because even if this was a high scoring game, you have a potent attack. The one thing we're not unsure of is your attack.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like if they don't have Erling Haaland, like they can't score goals. And no matter what formation they tried a 4-3-3 today, which they have the players for. But for some reason, no matter what happens, it seems like this team, they look a bit lost, or they don't trust the manager, or I don't know what it is, but they don't look like a team that wants to win either. It seems like they're already giving up on the season.
Wow. Well. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's happening with Dortmund at all. I mean, maybe they don't have any heart right now. Something is, as you rightly said, there's some leadership issue there. Yeah, and for them to be in second place, trailing Bayern by 6 points, and needing to keep pressure on Bayern, and then to play like this, show up like this without the fight. Yeah, disappointing. The other thing I want to say is Leverkusen has been perhaps in the last month the most informed team in the league. I think they're unbeaten in their last 4 games. They didn't start the season so well, and have been gradually making themselves a climb up to the top. When they beat SC Freiburg, and you said, okay, all right, seemed like they're really trying to make a move. And now they've gotten the better of Dortmund and essentially crushed Dortmund. So, good momentum going for them. I still don't think that they are a threat to Bayern, but good momentum for them.
The problem with Leverkusen is that they can't keep hold of their players. Every time that they build a team that's close to competing, they get raided by Bayern and Dortmund. And then teams from outside of Europe, like let's even go back to the days of when Ballack was there. Ballack played a Champions League final with them, and you remember Dimitar Berbatov?
Yeah.
He was a part of that team as well. And that team got raided. Ballack went to Bayern and then eventually to Chelsea. Berbatov, as we saw, went to Tottenham, Manchester United. So, like every time they pose a threat, then their team gets raided. As soon as they got Kai Havertz, what did Chelsea do? Take him and win the Champions League. When they had guys like Arturo Vidal, Juventus stole Arturo Vidal from them. Chelsea took Andre Schürrle from them, won the league with him. He won a World Cup for Germany as a starter. Arturo Vidal won 2 Copa Americas with Chile and won countless titles at Juve, won La Liga with Barca and with Bayern, won the league with Bayern. So every time they start to mount, and right now they have a player who I think is about 19 years old, Florian Wirtz. He's another guy who can play anywhere in midfield. Very good technical player. Works very hard. Typical German player, but good vision, passing, dribbling, can finish. He scored today as well. He controlled the midfield for the entire day. And it's like as soon as like I said, every time that they have a squad ready to compete, it gets raided by bigger clubs and they have to rebuild all over again. I don't want to apologize to their coach yet because I still don't think he's that good. They hired a new coach who was the Switzerland under-21 coach, and he also coached a club called Young Boys in Switzerland, one of the top 3 teams in Switzerland. His name is Gerardo Seoane. It's hard to pronounce. Seoane. So that's Gerardo Seoane. He's a new coach in the league, and for a coach that has never coached at this level, you saw the start. You saw the start of the season. I didn't expect him to be in 3rd place, by
I didn't.
Still don't want to give him props yet. Still need to prove something at the end of by the end of this. I still want to see where they are at the end of the season, but he's definitely taken the pieces that he has and made the best of it.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I'll give him a lot of credit for. It seems like Dortmund need a perfect formula or they can't score goals. And this coach for Leverkusen just literally said, hey, whatever I have here, I'm just going to use it to my best and figure it out.
So definitely Haaland definitely is looking to move on.
Definitely, but the problem is the choices. He has a lot of choices because you have to remember his father played for Man City.
Mm-hmm.
He's a huge Barcelona fan, but they can't afford him right now with the debt they have. Or even if they do, they would have to sell first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like he's destined for Man City.
But Man City just bought Julian Alvarez, who is their Aguero replacement. So are they still interested in? Chelsea just signed Lukaku, so I'm not 100% sure they're still interested in him because they were favorites as well. United, well, I haven't heard anything about United, but I know that he's a fan of Barca. He wanted to play for Barca, but again, Barca's financial constraints mean that they would have to sell some players first.
Mm-hmm.
Madrid would like to sign him, but they're more focused on getting Mbappe for free this summer.
Mm-hmm.
So they're more focused on Mbappe right now, and they already have Vinicius Junior. So that rebuild that Madrid is going how they want to go right now.
That sounds like him going to United then.
No, in fairness, United hasn't shown any interest. Like I said, City so far seems to be the favorite, but they just bought their striker who's supposed to be their Aguero replacement. But we'll see by the end of the season what he turns out to be. But the favorites, the real favorites who were supposed to sign were Barca and Man City. Due to his father's relationship with Man City, he grew up in England. Despite playing for Norway, he grew up in England. He has a close relationship with a lot of the City players, guys like Phil Foden, because Phil Foden's father played for Man City with Erling Haaland's father.
Oh, they grew up with their father's play. Okay.
Yeah. So now Foden, of course, is an England international, played at the Euros, and of course, Haaland is playing for Norway. And he has a good relationship with Arsenal's Martin Odegaard. Yeah, they're very close, but I don't see him going to Arsenal.
Yeah.
But they would be like the sneakiest team to get him, but I don't see him going there. Like I said, it's very open right now. Last year it seemed more like Man City would have signed him. But yeah, it's either City or Barca. I haven't heard anything about Manchester United. That's a problem. I haven't heard anything here. The only connection he had to Manchester United last year was the coach, Ole. Ole is Norwegian, and he has that. He's the Norwegian that they looked up to as kids. It was him and Jonathan Carew.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were the guys for Norway who was winning Champions Leagues, playing in Champions League for big teams. So they had that respect for him. So being that Norwegian connection is no longer there at United, I don't see him going there. But he definitely wants to leave though, because they're not going to compete for the title. And I do think I want Mark Rosa to get some more time, but that's because I'm biased because he was my coach for Gladbach last year. I would take him back at Gladbach in all fairness, because the coach that we have now is complete garbage. But yeah, that's the thing about being a young coach. One of the questions I asked when Frank Lampard took over Chelsea, especially being that I'm a Chelsea fan, like the first thing I asked when they hired Lampard is, it's not about if you have a good enough squad to compete. The question is, are you going to also not only give the young players time to grow, are you going to give the coach time to grow? Because if you notice with Arsenal, when Arsenal hired Arteta, things weren't going good in the beginning. But not only did they allow the young guys like Saka to grow, and Odegaard to grow, Martinelli, they allowed Arteta to grow as well as a coach.
Okay.
But of course, you have clubs who don't have that type of time. So it's all about Pep Guardiola said it in an interview. There's no such thing as a project in sports. If you keep winning, you get more time. We see that sometimes in the NFL where they'll give a coach. I guess the NFL will give coaches a bit more time. But in the football world and even in the basketball world, if they don't see immediate results, then unless you have a close relationship with the ownership, you're not really getting that much time. So I'll see what Dortmund does. They can't just keep firing coaches at this moment. Like I said, that has never worked in football for one club, which is Chelsea. It has never worked for another club. We're constantly firing managers.
Yeah.
So the next match I wanted to speak about in terms of like this weekend was Atletico Madrid versus Barca. Now I don't know if you got to tune into that game. It was a lot more exciting than I expected.
A lot of goals. I didn't see it. I was watching the score.
It looks similar to what Dortmund and Atletico Madrid's game.
That's what I realized. It seemed like it was a bit competitive at the start, and then Barca just pulled ahead, and Madrid couldn't keep up.
Yeah, so Atletico Madrid took the lead actually. Came out gunning for Barca's head, and once Barca equalized, it was all Barca. You said that you just saw Gavi. Yeah, so Gavi is one of the Barca Academy graduates who has been showing himself ever since last season. I know that Pedro won the Golden Boy. Ricky Puig is now he's been on the injury table, but he's coming back. But Gavi is one of those guys who's been consistent. He's already got some call-ups for Spain, already played for the Spanish national team. Pedro got overplayed this year because he was Barca's best player last year, outside of Messi. And he played in the Euros. Then right after the Euros, he played at the Olympics. So Barca had to rest him at the beginning of the season. So that's how Gavi got to step up into the team. And Gavi stepped up into the team and didn't look back. I think Puig is about 20 years old. Gavi is about 18. Nico Gonzalez is 19. And Ricky Puig is about 21, 22. Around that age group. So Barca is starting to look like that golden generation is coming back. And I've always told people this, like, I know that it's maybe new for a lot of people, but Barca all teams have always gone through this transition. Where you have this era of great dominance, and then you still keep one and two players. I know you like to have amnesia about Liverpool finishing 7th and winning the Carling Cup. I know you like to have amnesia about the Andy Carroll, Stuart Downing days, and the Joe Allen days, even though I rate Joe Allen as a player. I know you like to have amnesia about those days, but Liverpool went through a very tough transition as well after winning that Champions League. Yeah, man. I know you like to force amnesia the whole thing, but Barca has been through these rough transitions before. When we had Rivaldo, it took a while before we got to Ronaldinho. When we had Ronaldinho, it never worked immediately. And then even after we won the Champions League with Ronaldinho, Guardiola had to sell Ronaldinho and Deco and those guys because they were underperforming. So when Guardiola came in, he had to clean out the squad of a lot of guys as well. Because after that Champions League, they got comfortable. They started partying a lot more, didn't watch their weight. They started to finish 4th in the table. So even the great Ronaldo, I know that we remember Ronaldinho for his great moments, but remember that there was a point where we were turning against him as well.
Yeah.
So Messi basically kept the club afloat during a tough period of time, and it literally because of the financial constraints we could not resign. So that happened, but these teams go through transition periods. I know that when you're used to success, especially you as a Patriots fan, kiss that 20-year dominance crap, man.
Yeah, I'm kind of don't know. I have a a problem getting over dominance. I mean, periods of dominance. And I tend to support championship teams. Teams tend to just be like that, you know. I don't know what it is about me that attracts those teams to me. It happen. So, it's life. I guess, you know, there are persons who have it worse.
Yeah, some people never see a championship before.
Exactly.
But yeah, like when you're used to, when as a fan of teams who are always winning trophies, and no matter what the circumstances are, when you start to have that period of drought, you start to even not evaluate where you are or where your team is in life. And I think a lot of fans need to do that as well. I know that you need to keep the high expectations, because if you lower your expectations, then or lower what you're working for, you're eventually going to no longer have that championship mindset. But at the same time, you must also be realistic about where you are at the moment.
Yep.
You still have to see where you are on the mountain at the moment, and then try to climb back to the top.
Yeah, that's true. True. Yeah, you have to recognize the reality for what it is. They can live in denial, and then you have to be aware, self-aware, and then address the things you need to address before you can get back. So, yeah. So I don't know what this means for Atletico or Barca. I don't know what it means.
Atletico is delaying the inevitable. That's my problem with it. Barca took the dive, let go of the players that they needed to let go of, restart it completely. Atletico has been trying to, how I put this now?
Yes, it's hard. It's hard to retool if, even though you've been doing well, it's not any major trophies that you wanted. That's why it's so hard for them to retool, because normally retool after you've been through a period where you have some silverware, you know, then they can say, but they haven't gotten into the feel like they still have to keep trying.
Yeah, well, you won La Liga last year, and you won the Europa League year. But granted, it's not the Champions League. You lost both of your Champions League finals to Madrid.
Yeah.
But like I said, at some point you have to realize, hey, I need to transition the squad. And I think Diego Simeone has been delaying that. And it reminds me of the last part of Arsene Wenger's era, where I don't know if it's that Simeone needs to step down, because the players are tired of his playing style as well. Because despite the fact that Atletico Madrid plays very hard, they're very disciplined, the players that they have, they end up killing their own talent based on their playing style. Their playing style is to be rigid, tough, hard to break down, and hit you on the counter real quick. When you have very creative players in your team and then you force them to just be rigid, they get bored of your playing style. And Atletico Madrid's training sessions are some of the hardest in Europe. That's one of the things that they're known for. I remember there was a striker who was lighting things up for Villarreal in La Liga, and he earned himself a move to Atletico Madrid. And he didn't play badly for Atletico Madrid, but everyone was asking, why isn't he starting? His name is Luciano Vieta. And Vieta came out and said, the reason why he's not starting for Atletico Madrid is not because of the coach. It's not because they don't like him at the club. It's because he can't handle the training sessions. The fitness level that you have to be at to play for Atletico is even worse than even for cup. There's a athletic trainer at Atletico Madrid, Ortega. He pushes players, like pushes them. Granted, he's a great athletic trainer, well known throughout Spain, but he's known for his teams, like he pushes you to new levels of fitness. That's why older players are able to go back to Atletico and be successful, is because, for example, when Torres went back to Atletico, he had more success on the field than at Chelsea. Granted, he won more trophies at Chelsea, But in terms of his play, he was better at Atletico. And he was old, and most people have already given up on him. Suarez came back. Griezmann is doing okay. Players, there's a lot of players who end up going to Atletico Madrid. Atletico has always been able to get the most out of players who you think are a bit past their prime or didn't live up to potential, and get the most out of them because their playing style requires more hard work rather than you have to be the most talented. Now, if we can still get some of your talent in big moments, then no problem. But I think that formula works best when you have a younger team, where you work them like horses. But you also take the creativity out of the players who are naturally creative. If you look at Saul now, who's playing at Chelsea, it's almost like Chelsea had to retrain his creativity.
Yes.
Or tell him, hey, it's okay for you to dribble in. Like, it's okay for you to dribble and show us that you're skilled.
Yep. Oh.
So, like, because again, it seemed like his creativity and technical ability was coached out of it. This is a guy who was a deep line playmaker who could spread the ball around, which compared to the Xavis and the Iniestas of the world. Koke as well. But it seemed like you train that creativity out of them for more rigidity. And granted, these guys do work hard. Saul is a hard worker on the field, and you don't want to lose that as well. But you can't coach out what makes them great, which is their creativity, their ability, the vision, the passing. All of that seemed like it was coached out. Atletico need to just take the dive and just transition their team. Okay. Get some younger players in and do what they need to. Barca is taking that dive now. Granted, they're being embarrassed throughout Europe. People are laughing at them. Liverpool fans are laughing at them. True. But at the end of this cycle, when Barca start to run Europe again, like, it would have been worth
it. True.
Yeah, and so the last game for the weekend I wanted to bring up was the Milan derby. And I'm kind of pissed off about it because it seems like every time I bet on a team is when they choose to lose.
Yeah, so, how was that game? Tell me about it.
It was end-to-end fun. Like, it just pisses me off that as soon as I bet on a team that they decide to lose again. Inter controlled the game for like early on in the game. They controlled the game. AC Milan didn't really sit back either, and Inter took the lead early. Then at some point during the game, like around, let's say about the 70th minute, right? Inter thought it was okay, and they're not the type of team that sits back and defend. That's not what Simeone does. Not Simeone. Simone Inzaghi. That's not what his teams usually do. His teams are always high octane. We will score goals on you until that referee blows his whistle. We will keep attacking you until the referee blows that whistle. The mistake Inter made this weekend was that once they got that 1-0, well, not once they got, once they reached the 70th minute and it was still 1-0 up, they decided to bring on more defense-minded players, take off some of their attacking players and sit back. 70 minutes is way too much time in a derby. And Olivier Giroud took advantage of that. So Inter started to sit back, and AC Milan decided, okay, you want pressure, I'll give you pressure. And they kept attacking. I'm surprised that AC Milan brought in back all of their best players, right? For the match. They brought back Benacer, who played for Algeria in the Cup of Nations. Granted, his team got knocked out in the group stages. Frank Kessié, who plays for the Ivory Coast, he played as well. He's one of their important midfielders as well. He got knocked out in the quarterfinals. Yeah, he got knocked out in the quarterfinals with Ivory Coast. But yeah, like, I still didn't expect that. And then the 2 goals were back to back.
I realized that.
Like,
I realized that.
It's almost as if, all right, You score back on it, or we'll take the draw. And then AC Milan say, oh, you want a draw? No, we're not give you the draw. We'll score it. And then Inter couldn't. And then when once that second goal went in, Inter woke back up, but you have a defense minded players on the field. So it's not like you can put yourself back into an attacking phase because Theo Hernandez got a red card at the end of the match. Inter still couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Because all of your better attacking players who could pick out passes and stuff like that are now off of the field.
Right. Okay.
So you still couldn't come back and try for win. So.
Wow. So in general, then what we're seeing was these crucial matchups end up with some high scoring affairs.
Definitely. I expected that from the Milan match. I expected it from Milan. I didn't expect Barca and Atletico to be high scoring because Barca players haven't truly figured out how to play with each other as yet, and Atletico Madrid are a defense-minded team. So if Barca can't get their attack together, Atletico are not a high-scoring team anyway, even though they have the players to do it. Yes. I didn't expect a 4-1 scoreline, but it was Barca's. And I don't remember if I told you this on your show. Whichever one of these teams won this match was going to figure it out. They figured themselves out.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was on your show that I said, but whichever one of these teams won today would have figured themselves. Aubameyang came on today in the second half. Adama Traore, some of the January transfers, he started. So it was definitely good.
Okay.
The Pro Bowl in 41-35. What's the point? The Pro Bowl should end like 85-90.
Yeah, that it is a game of no interest. Yeah. Or everybody playing just want to make sure they don't get injured. That's all it is.
Yeah, but it's the end of the season. Like, you guys aren't tackling each other as hard as before. You're not marking each other. Let it be.
They should have
yeah, like you should let loose in this game. It's not like the guys in the Super Bowl are playing. Or do you think it should? Well, we'll go into it on the next podcast. Yeah, so with Atletico, with the Inter and AC Milan derby, one of the things I wanted to point out was that we're getting close to what it used to be. We're getting back to that state where Inter and AC Milan are not just Champions League, could become Champions League contenders, but could start to really dominate Europe again. We're getting closer to that period.
Yeah, okay.
And we saw the transition that these two teams went through. Now I wanted to ask you something.
Yes.
If you were playing for a football club, right?
Yes.
And the fans hated you because of your inconsistency.
Yes.
What if a fan told you? What if the fans of the club told you the bravery is not leaving AC Milan to go and play for Inter Milan? Bravery is let me see if I get the quote right. Bravery is not you leaving AC Milan to join our rivals Inter Milan. Bravery is your wife cheating on you and you stick it through and fight through the marriage.
Wow.
Do you agree with that statement? Because I do.
Oh, wow. Bravery is your wife cheating on you and you stick it. I don't know what is brave about that.
I have no clue what's brave about that.
I don't know what kind of analogy is that at all.
No, it's not an analogy. It's a situation that happens. So now, how can show no view? Now, at AC Milan and Inter Milan, I don't get this about these two rivals. There's no rivalry in Europe where a team, where there's two teams who have players play for the same team more than AC Milan and Inter. Look back through the history of these two clubs. These two, no matter even whether it's a good player, a world-class player, a shitty player, AC Milan and Inter Milan have shared the most players of any two football clubs.
Yes, yes.
Throughout history.
Yeah.
Now, Hakan Çalhanoğlu the attacking midfielder for Inter. He was playing at AC Milan for the past 4 years. But it wasn't until last year where he really played well for them. He was inconsistent for the first 3 years. But that was due to the club going through their bad transition, constantly changing managers. And Stefano Pioli, the current manager, he loves Hakan Çalhanoğlu. But Çalhanoğlu's contract expired this summer. And he wanted to play for the winning team in Milan.
Yes.
Now, of course,
yes.
Inter won last year. And he felt like the fans didn't like him, which they didn't. They were constantly criticizing him for his inconsistencies. When his wife cheated on him, he left her. And the AC Milan fans are telling him, hey, you should have stick it out with your wife. Bravery is not leaving your wife or leaving our football club.
Oh, man.
And ever since then, Çalhanoğlu has been getting his revenge. Because he's been very consistent for Inter. He was the one who assisted the goal for Perisic. And that's what Çalhanoğlu is known for. His set pieces, he's an attacking midfielder, his passing, his assist tally. He has the most assists in world football right now from set pieces.
Okay.
Cross the ball in for a corner, Perisic validity.
Okay.
So he thought he was having a field day. Now, the attacking midfielder that they replaced him with, Brahim Diaz, the Spanish attacking midfielder, he came on in the second half and he changed the game. He was the one who assisted both of Giroud's goals. So there's a little bit of drama going on there. But Çalhanoğlu was taken off late in the game. He's one of those attacking players that I told you Inter took off because they were trying to be more defensive.
Right.
And they suffered because of it. And then his replacement at Milan came on and took over the game. But overall, I think the Milan derby is starting to get back to where it used to be in the days of the Adriano.
That's good news for Syria.
Yeah, Shevchenko's. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's good news for Syria. They're starting to get back to some level, and that competitiveness is good for the league, because if you have the Milan derby getting back, if you have Roma and Napoli playing high quality football and always being in contention, and if you have Juventus figuring themselves out, and you have really top quality competition going on in Syria, which is what league needs.
And not just top quality competition. The one thing that Syria has changed, and I have to praise the managers who are right throughout Syria first, because this is not just at the top. Catenaccio football, which is the Italian style of football, is one of the most boring forms of football to watch if you watched it back in the day. It was built off of defense and then counter-attacking. With the credit I give to coaches like Pioli, Gasperini. Gasperini coaches Atalanta at the moment. Spalletti coaches Napoli at the moment. Pioli, of course, coach AC Milan, and Inter Milan's coach Simone Inzaghi. He coached Lazio last year and is now the Inter coach. They found a way to play attractive football while still keeping their Catenaccio identity. That was the main thing Syria needed. Even if the quality of football wasn't great in the past couple of years in Syria, it was very boring to watch. Now we're seeing 4-3 score lines. We're seeing attacking football with the same Catenaccio style to it. So I have to give credit to the managers who have been coaching in Syria for the past 5 years. Maurizio Sarri, who's currently the Lazio coach, he was the coach of Napoli that turned him into an attractive team to watch.
Yes.
So there's no unattractive team to watch in Syria anymore.
That's good.
So right down to the bottom of the table, teams play attractive attacking football. And still have that defensive base that it starts from, which is the Catenaccio style. So I have to give credit to the entire Syria coaches for that.
Okay. Fair enough.
Now for the AFCON, what did you think of the competition overall?
So I think for the unsung, the unheard of, the homegrown talent, yes, to me was what showed up in the competition. So I was happy to see that Africa has the continent has good quality players who are not really necessarily top players in Europe, but you know that depth of the squad. I like that. I mean, I was impressed with that. And then the a lot of parity in African football, because even those highly fancied teams and those who are more popular could not be casual about playing. I mean, even early rounds, because they were beaten, and some of the high more fancy teams dropped out. I mean, early. So you know, it's all good for looking good for African football, and then coming to the later stages in the semi-final, finals. Good defense being played. I like that. I like to see that. I mean, structure. You know, you saw real competitive games. I didn't like the fact that the offenses couldn't find a way to break down the defense, but it's typical of what's happening in sports generally. When you reach the closing stages of games, then people get more cautious and you know, it's tight. I mean, and the scoring dries up and his defense that really takes over. But I was really happy to see that. Really happy to see. Of course, it doesn't hurt that he had a all Liverpool final. It's fine. I mean, you can go ahead and admit it. The sign of the times. But in general speaking, I like the quality of the competition. It showed up, you know. It showed that there's real quality in African football, and there's depth to that quality.
What if I tell you that it was the smartest final to have? I know that I'm not a Liverpool fan, and you're going to beat me with a stick over the fact that two of the Liverpool stars were the ones in the final. But I actually thought that was a final that should have been played. In terms of looking at it from an analytical standpoint, like that was the final that needed to happen.
Why?
Because of the to bring more attention to African football, it needed to be Mane versus Salah. It needed to be that final.
They are the two
the two current best African, or at least well-known African football players in world football at the moment. So to bring attention to the African game, I thought it was the best final. Granted, I knew that the final wouldn't be particularly entertaining. Neither of these teams were playing at their best through the entire day. Senegal is a defense-minded team anyway, because they have a lot of high-energy box-to-box midfielders. They don't have much creativity in midfield. Similar to Egypt as well, most of their players are really either forwards or defenders. So we knew that there wouldn't be sexy football from them. The teams that played sexy fell out more early in the competition.
Okay.
The Algerias of the world, the Ivory Coast of the world, Nigeria, they were the team that was supposed to do it and look sexy. Cameroon, they were the ones who were supposed to look sexy. Ghana, they were the ones who were supposed to look sexy. Those teams all fell out. Ghana and Algeria got knocked out first round. Nigeria and Ivory Coast made it to the second rounds, but like I said, they were the ones who were supposed to look good while doing it.
Well, you see, despite the bad timing of the event, which I still think, not a good timing for it at all, but despite that, I mean, the organizers must feel pleased. I mean, with the kind of final they got, the quality of play throughout the competition. No major stars got injured, which Europe will be very happy with. So in general, it was a real incident-free, no drama, and high quality competition. What can you ask?
Definitely, I'm glad you brought up the whole no drama thing, because there's been the problem that African footballers have over a lot of the years is that which prevented a lot of European players from even going back home to Africa and playing. I will remember this with the Ghana team that played in the 2010 World Cup. After 2010, a lot of those players were still in their prime, or at least coming out of their prime, but were still top quality players. But they didn't want to play. They didn't want to go back home and play because there was problems with there was issues with pay. There were clashes within the team. When Cameroon won their last African Cup of Nations against Senegal, not the last final with Algeria, but the final before that, there was a lot of infighting within that team. Still managed to get the win, but there was a lot of infighting, and there's usually a lot of infighting in these African teams. So, like, that was a huge improvement as well. No matter which African team you watched, everybody was together. So that's one of the most important. And the quality, as you said, the quality of play. Even though coming down to the end of the competition, it looked like a defensive stalemate. But even if you watch the third place playoff with Cameroon and Burkina Faso, I think it ended 4-3. So there were some matches in the African Cup of Nations that were really exciting, just from like creativity. One of the things that you always spoke to me about with African teams is playing with their mind rather than just having just raw talent.
Physical, right?
Yeah, with physical talent or just raw like skills that like hold up with the skills with no end product. That's one of the things that I saw an improvement on in this competition.
Yeah, man.
It wasn't just about skills with no intention. It wasn't about just being physically stronger than other guys.
Yes, people were being strategic, very tactical approaches, players playing smart, discipline, teams playing with discipline. You were seeing lots of what it takes to play football at a higher level. That augurs well for the sport in Africa.
And then with the next thing I liked about the competition, in terms of its overall organization, I would like to see some better fields in Cameroon, because you're not one of the poorer countries now. You're not one of the worst African leagues. You're one of the top African leagues. So if this was held in South Africa, like, you would see smooth pitches completely, no matter where you went.
Yes.
Or if this was held in Egypt, you would see smooth fields. If this was held in Algeria, you would have seen smooth fields. Now, granted, it's better than what it used to be. So I do want to still give them credit. You still have to give them credit for the improvements they have made. A lot of the fields were bearable. I think it was only in the group stages where I saw some fields that weren't really, up to standard. But for the most part in this competition, you didn't see the ball bouncing all over the place and the players could barely get a hold of it. You didn't see wet patches on the field. You didn't see mud some places, grass some places. Like, it looked like an organized competition, and I have to give them credit for that.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So, best player for the tournament.
They're going to give it to Salah. I don't think he deserves it. I think I think that's who the tournament are going to give it to, because he won. The best player in the tournament was Vincent Abubakar of Cameroon. If we're just talking statistically, leading his team, goals and assists, Abubakar wins the Golden Boot.
Right.
I think he's high up there in assists as well. I don't think he won the assist. I think Toko Akambi, his teammate, who finished second in the Golden Boot race. I think like I said, Cameroon was a big disappointment because, like, not only did they play attractive football, not only did they outscore their opponents. I think Salah grinded his way to the final. I think Mane and Senegal grinded their way to the final. Cameroon was a disappointment because they outplayed everybody. They choked on a penalty shootout. Because even if you watch their third place playoff, you realize that they're a team that can flip the switch. They were 3-1 down, 3-0 down by the end of the first half.
They came back.
And won 4-3 against Burkina Faso, a team that could have won the competition. A team that Senegal struggled against. So this would be a very like disappointing tournament for them.
Okay. Well,
But like
that game that Cameroon Burkina Faso didn't it go to it was penalties, right?
I think it did, but it was high
Yes.
scoring. I think it went
Yeah,
3-3
yeah,
or
yeah.
4-3
Cameroon
or
came back and
4-4.
scored 3, but I think they
Yeah,
won penalties, 5-3 in penalties. Yeah.
yeah, but it's the fact that they could have flipped that switch and come back.
Yeah, man, agreed. So
Like
Abubakar end up being the leading goal
tournament
scorer.
highest score. Yeah, that's definite. That's definite.
So maybe he should get the best player in the tournament.
No, he should, but I don't think they're going to give him it based on who won the trophy. Because Mane didn't really score a lot. Because Abubakar scored 8 goals for the competition, highest scoring. The second
But
high,
so who on Senegal's team could you give it to?
on Senegal's team,
Because
Mane.
remember Senegal winning now. So Salah that's in the running. Salah teams will finish second.
They're going to have to give it to in all fairness, they're going to have to give it to Mane because of his 3 goals and 2 assists for the competition. So I think Mane would get it. But he didn't win it pretty. Abubakar would have won it pretty. So if you were to watch Mane throughout the competition, you would have never said that he deserved it. Because his performances were inconsistent. Granted, he scored when he needed to. And he almost gave away the final. Got a penalty earlier in the game and threw it away. So I don't think if you look at his performances overall, you would give it to him. But he's going to end up winning it because of the 3 goals and 2 assists.
I think they have to give it to Abubakar. Let's see. They should do the right thing.
They should. They should, in all fairness. Yeah. And then Carl Toko, it can be his strike partner, Abubakar's strike partner. He scored 5 goals and had some assists as well in the tournament. I think he had 2 assists. I think Abubakar had 2 as well. But yeah, being that Mane has 3 goals, which is granted, which is the 3rd highest amount of any player in the tournament, and 2 assists, which is the 2nd highest amount, I think they're just going to give it to him.
Okay. Well, I think Cameroon here is a team to watch in the World Cup.
Definitely.
Yeah. So African football is alive and well, looking very promising. Yeah, this is very good news for world football. The AFCON tournament here. So I think we do have a lot to look forward to later this year on that continent.
And don't be surprised because Morocco was one of those teams who should have won it pretty. And Egypt beat them on penalties, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so, but Egypt is a team that grinds out victories, and people should have came into the competition knowing that they're not a team that plays very attractive. Which is kind of against their beliefs.
Yeah, but they did have some. I mean, Egypt really played some top teams, to get to the finals. Because they had to pass Ivory Coast, they had to pass Morocco, Cameroon. So they got tested, and it mean they really have a good system of play. They don't have the top quality players, but they do have a good system.
Well, they do have some quality players, but like El Nene from Arsenal, El Mohammedi from Aston Villa. They have Salah, of course, and they have Trezeguet from Aston Villa as well. I don't remember which team Hassan plays for. He plays in Europe as well. But overall, I think the tactics that they play with is not supposed to be very attractive. They do play with pragmatism. So as I said, they play organized, they play disciplined, and then they take their chances where they can.
Yep.
So that's just their style of play. But I do think even the Egyptian fans, being that you have some good players, Ramadan Sobhi used to play for Stoke City, and Huddersfield got relegated with both teams. But you have some players who you could play a bit more of an attractive style, but as you can see, sometimes it's a pragmatism that gets you the results.
Yep. No man, it's a good look. It's overall yeah.
And I'm glad that I saw different tactics from each African team.
Yes.
It wasn't just 4-4-2, everybody trying to do the same thing.
Very positive for African football. Very, very positive.
And shout out to the African coaches.
Yeah.
Because majority of the coaches in the competition were African.
Excellent.
So it's not like it was a bunch of European guys who came down and showed them tactics.
That's good.
Like to see African coaches actually step up and say, hey, our team is going to play this way. And have it organized and disciplined. That was definitely a huge part of it as well. And for the European level players to listen to the African coaches. That's also another thing.
Yeah. Oh man, it's awesome. We're on top of the hour.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up right now. That's where we're going to leave you guys for the 90th minute Wusa podcast. Check us out on Anchor, on YouTube at Live Sports, on any social media platform at Live Sports. I want to thank Lance from the One Love Sports Show for joining me on another Sunday.
Yes, man, of course. Happy to come and relax from the high pace action in One Love, but this is good. And Bob Marley's Day.
Yeah, so shout out to Bob on his Earth Strong. Just an absolute legend, and for the African Cup of Nations to finish on his birthday is just it's just overall good for all of what he made for the Caribbean and just overall the Pan-African movement and a lot of other stuff as well. Absolute legend.
Yeah, man. That's pity the game never finished One
Love. So my fault. No, my fault.
Yeah.
That's my fault. That's Mane's fault. We have to blame Mane for that one. But it was definitely entertaining, though.
Yeah, man. Quite so.